He plays lots of games, he chats with his friends. Come on everybody, it's the FireBlades! Games! Hello everyone, and welcome to a new VR game. Iron Wolf VR. Yeah, it's a submarine sim. If you know Silent Hunter, then it's very similar to that, but it's in VR, and you're actually operating it on your own. You can do local co-op, which means your teammates can actually occupy a different room in the sub. So as you can see, we've got engine, pump, reload. There are a couple of rooms which I'm going to actually show you. Or you can have the assists on and they do it for you while you do single player. So let's go straight into it and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, here we go. Right, we find ourselves in our submarine. So I'm going to take you around. Now, one thing I've noticed while actually doing this is when you're in VR, it's absolutely fine. You know, everything makes sense and it's all clear, and I can do this and I know exactly where everything is. But when you're watching it on a screen, it's really, really disorientating to see somebody doing this all the time, because first of all, you don't know where the eyes are looking, and secondly, it's all one-to-one movement, and it's just amazing how much in real life your eyes can move and your brain mitigates whatever movement to avoid this kind of feeling of motion sickness. So anyway, I'll try and be as steady as I can with it. These are 3 gauges. Diesel, which is to charge the motor when you're on the surface of the water. Battery, which is how much power you've got underwater, because you can't use diesel. And oxygen is obviously how much you can breathe. Coming to the surface will regenerate the oxygen tanks. So this is the helm. This is the helm's room for now. So we start off, we're at the first mission. Fairly lightweight, nothing really much to worry about. So at the front we've got basically our navigation. This is our radar. This is to tell us where we are and where we're looking. So we're currently facing 0 degrees, which is north, and as you can see the numbers go around the outside like that. East is 90, south is 480, 270 and back to 0. So first of all, you've got to drive to your location. Your location is signified by this little dot on the display there, and the little dot itself, the white dot, is actually your mission marker, so you have to go towards that. The waves coming out of it indicate your detection range, which basically means how far away the enemy is before they can detect you. So because I've got full diesel working and I'm above water, that means this detection circle is quite big. I want it to be as small as possible if I'm to avoid detection. However, my first target is actually stationary, which we can have a look at in a second. This is the directing, setting the head here. So of course it's in the same degrees, so if I wanted to head towards a target, I'd make a note of the number 110 between 110 and 120, so I'd say that's about 113. So I'd click that, press it and head down to about 113, and then I'd grab the engine or the telegraph and go full ahead. The engines start up and my speed increases, and you'll see my craft start to turn. Brilliant. So I'll stop for now and just show you what else. Now if I want to steer manually, say for example if I want to navigate a minefield or something, I switch that off, and now this wheel controls the angle of the rudder. Oops. Rudder port to starboard, and I can manually steer as if I'm driving a car. Don't want to do that because it's fairly straightforward. I'm facing the right angle and I've stopped for now. My submarine orientation is between 110 and 120. The hydrophone orientation, which is basically a little microphone that's underneath the boat, and that literally listens out for anything in the water. The advantage to having the microphone in the water is that sound travels further in water, and therefore you can hear more things more loudly from further away. Now we'll go into that later on. The periscope is what you use when you're submerged to attack enemy ships. At the moment it's facing in a random direction, usually 180 degrees from the front, so it's actually facing the rear of the boat. But we'll get onto that later on too. As the hydrophone makes its way around, you'll see it start to stop, and just listen out for a change in tone. There is a very slight buzzing going on there. Very, very slight. And that basically means even if we can't see the enemy vividly, we can actually hear it from that location. And by listening to what sound it's making, we can determine what kind of enemy it is. So that buzzing is probably from an electric generator. From that, we know it's a stationary fort, fortified place. Now I need to remember that the audience is, the camera is here, but even though I'm facing this way, so I'll try my best. Anyway, depth under keel. This gives us an indication of how deep we are under the keel. It's just below 100 meters. Actually, no. The point where the stick meets is actually about 100 meters. 100 meters there. Basically, if we were to dive, we could either use this, or we can have a quick glance at that and make sure it doesn't get too close to zero. Once it gets to zero, we run aground. The depth meter. The blue means we're at periscope depth, and that means we're shallow enough in the water to enable the periscope to come out of the water and start searching for targets. If we're below this point, then it's going to be difficult to get the periscope up, but we're still safe enough underwater. 100 meters is a safe depth, because obviously the weight of the water as you get lower down is going to be greater. Therefore we've got the yellow and the red going down to 250 meters. To go down, we've got one of two ways to do it. Either we fill the ballast tanks with water, this gives us our hypothetical depth as to what we'll be doing, ballast water level. The blue area is periscope depth, so it's an easy guide to make sure that we know how low to go. So therefore our ship will start filling with water. We're now underwater and everything's gone red, and as you can probably see, we don't longer have a circle of detection because we're not using any engines, which I'll show you now. When we do use an engine, we use battery power. The sound emanates from that will go out to a certain extent. Or if we want to actually rise up quickly, then we use this wheel here, and that involves the hydroplane, which allows the submarine to actually go up and down thanks to two little wings on the side of the boat itself. They act like the wings of an aircraft. So when -10 the boat goes up, +10 the boat goes down. This is how much buoyancy we have. We haven't got purely... we've got a little bit of buoyancy, but not too much. Probably that's going to change. Looks like it's going to 0. That sound has started up again because we can hear the water better. To get ourselves back up, we can either go forward and jam the planes back like that, or if we're standing still, we blow the ballast tanks till that ballast water level reaches 0. We achieve maximum buoyancy, current airflow resets to 0, and our deep meter there goes to 0. Soon the light will turn to yellow again. There we go. And because we're up in the water, the thing has risen out. Now I'd say this is the most complicated part. So if you do want to get involved with friends, I'd start off here and get your friends to go elsewhere for now. So we're going to show you. First of all, we'll have a look at the top. Open the hatch and get up onto the surface. There's our target. It's a fort. Because this is the first level, it doesn't want to make it too difficult for you. This is a deck gun, flak gun. Oh, flak incidentally means Flugzeugabwehrkanone, and it was used by the Germans to shoot down Flugzeug aircraft. Now, you'll see at the moment my hands are getting confused because I'm probably facing the back of the sensors, and therefore both sensors can't see my hands at any one time, so it gets confused. 3 sensor setup is recommended, although not impossible, not mandatory if you have to play the game. So you grab it like that, alter the pitch if you want. Like that. Grab the handle and fire with a thumbstick. Now this is only an anti-aircraft gun, so it's not going to do much damage to that. It's too far away anyway. We can have a look further on the bridge. This doesn't really have much of a function except that you can stand here. This is the periscope. We'll be using that soon anyway. So yeah, there's nothing really you can use here. Maybe because the game's in alpha, they might implement something around here. A pair of binoculars would be good to enable you to see out. But I don't know. Right, let's get back here then. And that's all there is to it there. That little black object down below is actually my oxygen mask. The ship, if I'm not careful, will get shot. There will be water filling up and blowing from these tanks here. And I'll need to put the water, obviously I'll need to stop the water overflowing and then use this pump. Now again, this is something you could do automatically or manually, and the pump will then get the water out. Yeah. It's got limited supply, so you can't rely on it all the time. This will be used to put out any issues, and the leaks always come from the same places, and you know where you've hit it because it lights up like this, like here. Oh, maybe it does light up there too. This is an infinite supply, fortunately, and that just goes on there. Right, well, let's go down here. This is a torpedo room. And as you can see, we have 4 green lights and 4 torpedoes ready to fire. All I need to do is flick this switch. What usually happens then is the door opens, the torpedo comes out of nowhere and starts to load automatically. This is because I've got the assist on. So, we'll load up the torpedo, literally grab and pull. I'd say if you put somebody down here, this is the simplest place you can be, but also it takes a lot of physical effort, especially if you're in trouble and you've got 4 torpedoes you need to load quickly. You load the torpedo into there by doing that. You pull the handle, push it closed, lock the door, flood. And this is what happens when you don't lock the door before flooding. Whatever water's currently in there will come back out. And I'll do that again. Obviously it's fairly unforgiving when it comes to things like that, so you have to be careful. Right, first of all, I've got to pump the water out. As you can see, the water level lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering and lowering. And again, when you're in trouble, you get shot at by a destroyer or a battleship, it gets very tense very quickly, especially when this kind of claustrophobic atmosphere. So you close the door, lock the door, flood the torpedo tube, and then you're ready to fire. If you want, you can drain the torpedo tube. This hasn't really been implemented unless, I think because it's automatic, once you fire, it drains the tube automatically. If you don't set it to the assist, then you have to drain the tube after firing, so you might as well get into the habit to go boosh, boosh, like that. As far as I'm aware, there's an infinite amount of torpedoes, and each rule applies for each tube. Same thing with this. If I were to unlock that now, they would be flooded with water. We're back here. So, let's have a look at where the torpedoes come from, at least where we choose to shoot the torpedoes. Right, we're in the periscope room again with the pump there just in case. This is the hydrophone. As you can see, my hand's going crazy again. So, this is the hydrophone, and it's controlled usually by the sound man, but there is no sound man in this game. So what the job of the periscope man is that they have to turn the hydrophone around manually, and their target is made apparent here. That will start to turn very shortly on its own. And then you have to find out where the target is. So if you're underwater and you can't see the target, you have to rely on the sound man to tell you. Once the signal reaches maximum, you have a look at where that is. Again, it's now turned to about 116 degrees. So once you're given the order to fire, or at least to get the target, you bring the periscope down here. You turn it round. Now it might look like I'm actually not in centre line with the torpedo. This is because I'm recording this from only the left eye perspective. If I record it from both perspectives, you'll see two of the same image on the screen and it'll get confusing. So no, not any of that. So you'll see it looking a bit to the side. So I'll centre it for you for convenience. So we're looking for a heading of, say, about 116. As soon as we get our heading, and this, you grab it with the two handles and walk around like this. Yep. It's between 90 and 135 on here, so yeah, it's the same. It's practically the same. Zoom in. The periscope goes up and down like this. This does not alter the height of the periscope. This is just for convenience. So you alter the height. The higher it is, the more likely you are to be detected. Turn it to low as you can because we're not underwater. We lock the target. Target solution is in here, and as you can see, our ship is drifting slightly, so the crosshairs are going off centre. To counter that, we use these two here, left and right, down and up. And as I do that, I'll try to show you. We want to get that somewhat in the centre. So once our target is locked, this is manual guidance, we get the first torpedo off. The arrow, as you can see, tells us where the torpedo is coming from. So I need to try and get the torpedo lined up properly. It has to go out forward, or at least whichever direction you're facing to begin with, and then it makes the turn. So that's why the arrow is kind of sliding around all over the place. And boosh, target destroyed. We see the impact, and it goes down into the sea. Right, lovely. Lower torpedo down to minimum. Let's zoom out. Periscope up. Sorry, lower the periscope down, not the torpedo. One more place to visit. And that's the engine room. We're stopped at the moment, so the engines are just ticking over. There's nothing we can do with these so far, but there might be something that will be implemented later on. But you can see the valves going up and down. This is what's making the engine turn. Fairly straightforward. Simple. Grab the handle, come back in. So again, the engine is done automatically if you so choose, and if you're in single player, it's going to allow you to do it itself. So, here we are. Fuel is at 0 at the moment. So if you're manning the engine room, then once the helmsman does this little thing, the telegraph, that's only to tell the engine man how fast to go. The engine man has to do it manually. That. Temperature is also an issue. Because this is already assisted, the cooling is being done automatically. Put it down to 0, the engine starts to overheat and eventually it will blow up. So it's a balance of putting the cooling in there, making sure the engine isn't too hot or too cold. It's the optimal temperature. RPMs and also the output demonstrate how much power you're dedicating to it. Now, say for example, you're the helmsman down here, and sorry, if you're the engine guy down here, and the helmsman says, right, emergency, let's dive, it's probably going to say all ahead full for now, get it underwater. And then he's probably going to say, right, we're underwater now, diesel, switch the diesel off, otherwise you'll pollute the place. There's no atmosphere of which to put the exhaust anymore. So, he'll then tell you to reserve to battery power. Obviously we can't do that because it doesn't let us. It's because it's assisted for now, it's impossible to do. But you switch that, go to battery power, and then this will alter how much battery power you put into it. Pressurized air, I'm not too sure about that. I need to find that out. But that's how to do it with the battery power. However, if you're at periscope depth, you do have the advantage of bringing the snorkel, which we will demonstrate. First of all though, we need to take us underwater. That sound you hear is a new target, incidentally. At approximately 10 degrees, we have a boat, which I'll show you now. Again, you don't have to see it to detect it. Wait till the signal gets maximum, you hear the propellers, and it's at about 14 degrees. Right, so let's get ourselves underwater. Throw the ballast to about periscope depth, and then we proceed down to the engine room once again. This is super scary, by the way. There we go. Diesel engines have stopped automatically, battery power has engaged. Now how do you make the boat go? It's diesel generation control. And as you can see, these dials are off. Might be just because it's automatic, I don't know. I think it automatically shuts itself off. Now how do you make it go? I don't know what that does except for dims and raises the lights, but I don't know how to make the boat go from here. I have absolutely no idea, unless there's something you literally have to do down here. Now I'm scared of hitting something. Nothing here. It's probably something to do with down there, but I'm not too sure. Now I know it's not this, I'll show you that in a second. Alright, that automatically shuts itself off. But that's the diesel control. I have no idea how to make this blooming thing go. When it's diesel, when it's battery power. Anyway, because we're periscope depth, we raise the snorkel, and this is essentially like an exhaust pipe that goes out through the top of the boat and reaches into the atmosphere, meaning that we can use our diesel engines again. we go. My maximum output, minimum output. I'm going to use battery power for now. I'm going to set it to go and see what changes in this respect, because I'm confused myself. Right, set ourselves to full ahead. Might as well change our bearing as well to 130. I know it's not exactly, but depending on which way this ship is going, by the time we get there, it's going to actually, and we're going to anticipate it. So this is power draw, pressurized air. Those wheels are going. Oh, so there is. That doesn't make sense. Auxiliary power up to full. Yeah, okay, I'm going to need to check that later on. Unless there's something down here. Yeah, usually it doesn't force you to go all the way down there. So I need to look that up. But anyway, let's go back up to the surface. This is what the engine room is. So when you get back up to normal, yeah, there's something controlling the battery which I've no idea about. Now why is my boat going in that direction? Diesel engines kick in, our rate of knots will increase. Now bear in mind that a U-boat is in fact a boat, it's not a submarine. A submarine is entirely different, well, sort of different. A U-boat is a boat first, but it has the capability of going underwater. That's what a U-boat is, it's an undersea boat. A submarine is not only equipped but also designed to spend prolonged amounts of time underwater. A U-boat is not. So there were boats that went underwater, whereas a submarine was just essentially an underwater vessel. Change the heading to 20 because the vessel is the enemy is now going that way. You know what, actually, I'm going to change the heading to 0 degrees. We are now 1.335 meters away from the target, and as you can see now our target's come into very visual range. So we'll have a look. There it is. Out of the way. Now I'm tempted to shoot at this with a deck gun. I'm nowhere near equipped to do that, because it might not actually do anything. It's just a flat gun anyway, it's probably not going to be powerful enough. Now by the looks of the ship, it's heading in that direction. So actually we need to set our heading to about 035, and then target accordingly. This is a moving target, so the more frontal we can make it, this is where it's going to be. As you can see, the hydroplane matches up with 020. Do the left eye view again for the sake of this, and bring the periscope back 0 degrees, as you can see, with the little green notches. Now I'm walking around like that because my wires are very tiny. And I usually look at this through both eyes, but I'm actually closing one eye at the moment, just so I can see what you see. Usually when you hit it like that, it's fine when it does it itself. And as you can see, we're going to be leading the target. We get back to here, we adjust, and while that's doing that, we send off the next torpedo. Usually merchant crafts like this, and believe it or not, the forts have 1 torpedo needed. That little sonar beep that went off just shows to me that I've reached my objective. And boosh, target destroyed, and let's see that go down. Oh, okay, we're done. Alright, 29 minutes, 14 seconds. So, right, so that was about half an hour. Record time is 3 minutes and 5 seconds. I've got silver, but not gold. So, I'm going to try that now. First of all, I'm going to get my bearing, which is... Actually, that's fine as it is. I don't want to turn the engines on just yet. Ah, bum. Bum. What I do want to do is go down to the torpedo room, because I know it takes absolutely ages to load the torpedoes. Close the torpedo door, lock that, flood that, and then you can go back up. The other ones are going to reload in time for me to use a second torpedo. So unfortunately our target is actually about 180 degrees. Which will put it there. First one's ready, target marked. It's going to be quite far away, so it's going to take me a bit of a time. And there we go. I'm just going to need to be on top of this one now. And this usually requires constant supervision. The torpedo has to travel about 300 metres, 3,000 metres as I should say. And we know it's coming from the top. And yes, sorry, just because I'm holding the crank, that means it's making the sound. Try to offset it a bit because it's actually going to be screaming past. Alright, send it back into the centre, now it's straightened up. That should be good. I have to keep it going because it is going to constantly move. Come on. It's in range, target in range. Torpedoes are ready, and boosh. Okay, bring the torpedo periscope up for a second. Let's get back to the helm and let's see where our next objective is. Full ahead. Now, because I made a bit of a panicked mistake in the first part of the actual game, in the first session, sorry, the first part of the level, I should say, I'm probably not going to be able to beat the time. Right, target is now going to be at about 180 degrees. Target marked. If it's too far away, it won't mark the target, so you have to be careful. Torpedo 1 is already ready. Send torpedo 2 array. As long as it's ready, I can send it off. Doesn't really matter. And that should be actually fairly plumb on target. Aim to the bow. That should be all good. And I can also look at the target through there. Target destroyed. Completed objective, and that starts to go down. Have I done it? Yes! Oh! Wait a minute. And got the gold. Ah, 3 minutes and 5. Yeah, I was there with 6 seconds to spare. So, brilliant. And it gets further fighter enemy plane patrols. Protecting the merchants, which we're going to do next. Anti-submarine mines are going to be thrown in there. The Jewel, that one's hard as shit. You need 5 torpedoes to kill the destroyer, and it has sonar, so it knows where you are. Guarded convoy, much the same thing. Destroy the merchants, guarded by the destroyer. I'm up to that one. Take out the lone destroyer, destroy the fort, then the enemy vessels in the heavily guarded convoy. Battleship, yeah, close range. Torpedoes won't track you below periscope depth, so they have torpedoes. Battleship and 2 destroyers. That's the final one for so far. Random short and random long. So, there's plenty to do pre-alpha at the moment, and hopefully it's just going to get better and better. But you can do co-op. Open game for friends, open public game. and obviously the tutorials there. Early access 1.6.0.0 for now. Hopefully that'll increase very soon. It's, my opinion, one of the best VR games out there so far, and hopefully you've seen it. If you're fans of World War II, warfare, submarine warfare, anything like that, play it. You can have loads of fun. So, anyway, I'll see you next time, and hopefully I'll see you out there. So, bye for now.